Hi everyone, welcome to the Core Vitality Summit. My name is Yvonne Britton and I'm joined today by Carolyn Cavanaugh. Thank you, Carolyn, for joining us. I'm delighted to have you here with us today.
Well, hi Yvonne, it's really nice to be here. I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. Carolyn, would you mind telling us a little bit about what you do?
Well, most people know me, but for those who don't, I am a health protocol practitioner. And I'm a medical intuitive. A lot of people have questions about that part. But I use a combination of all these things in my practice, basically things that have been taught to me by Anthony William. We all know Anthony. But along with my own clinical training about herbs and essential oils and things too. But I use all that in a combination for helping people to naturally heal in my day-to-day practice.
Okay. I love the part about essential oils, actually. I hadn't, I'll ask you about that in a second. Carolyn, we know, we're kind of like surrounded by chronic illness nowadays, whether, it's the thyroid or, in my own case, it was migraines. It might just be that, chronic fatigue. I know that you have your own personal story to do with your healing. Would you mind sharing that with us?
Well, my story is not unlike all of you. I, at one time, was having terrible chronic problems, everything from migraines to IBS, really bad allergy symptoms. I thought that I must be allergic to every single thing on this planet because I was so stricken all the time, always congested. Didn't know what was going wrong. Every doctor that I would visit would give me the same story. And so anyway, I went on from there, and I suffered for many, many years and it kept getting worse and worse and worse till finally I got to the point I was actually working really hard at the time. Actually, I was running around doing a lot of music and singing and things, and it got to the point where I was bedbound practically. I was having a lot of chronic fatigue, and I knew I needed serious help, and I actually was looking at that point into raw food all on my own. So before I even met Anthony, I was kind of dabbling in all this stuff, but not in the beginning. I actually went through the Candida route, the paleo route. I did some other things in the beginning, which I don't even know who that person is now. It's been so long. But so anyway, feeling terrible, and a friend of mine actually said, hey, I know this guy. He's helping my daughter. Maybe he can help you too. And when she told me about him, at first I thought, oh, wow, I don't know. It just sounded so, unbelievable. In this day and age, you never know who to trust. But I did go ahead with it, just I think out of curiosity more than anything. And it's the best phone call I ever made, ever. It was life-changing.
Like you won the lottery, no?
Well, yeah. And this was, of course, back when, Anthony was a bit more reachable for health consultation. And I'm very blessed to have had those sessions with him in that way. But yeah, it was like all the lights went on. He immediately told me what was wrong with me. In my case, I have a nasty shingles virus that was at the time was causing most of my problems. Like you, that was causing my migraines, my headaches. I had all the things he talks about with shingles, with the trigeminal and getting up there in the eye area and whatnot. So anyway, so after I spoke with him, I started doing what he said, and it was kind of where I was already going with a lot of raw food and juicing and things, but he helped steer my protocol a little bit more and certainly added a few supplements. And for me, it was instant. Honestly, I started feeling better like the very next day. And it just kept progressing on from there. And sure, there's ups and downs during healing for everyone. But in general, it changed my life. And here I am today. So after, I started getting better and I was able to function again and be human. God took my life in a direction that I wasn't expecting. And I've always been a very spiritual person and really close with God, and that was a lot of the music that I was doing prior as well, a lot of worshipful music. So God said, this is great what you're doing, but I have another plan for you. And, I believe that we're given things for a reason. And me, myself, I believe that, even though no one wants to go through a trial such as an illness or suffering of any kind, but I do believe if you keep faith in God, He does bring you up and out of that, and it's for a glorious and magnificent purpose. In this case, possibly to reach out to others to say, hey, wait, there's a better way. There's actually a way where you can feel better from a lot of this stuff. So that's when
and
I started.
it's so life-changing
Yeah.
what you do,
Yeah.
the service that you give to people really is, it can really, there's a before and after. Like what Anthony gave to you, you're giving to other people. It's
exactly.
The work you do is amazing. It's really amazing.
Yeah. So, but it's important to reach above and beyond, I think, whatever we're given, to take that and make it something beautiful. So I make that my life's work now, reaching out to people every single day to help them overcome their health obstacles. And that's pretty much where I am now. And the intuitive part, that's a whole other story.
Yeah. And I've actually personally been lucky enough to work with you, and it was a turning point for me. I think it's what Anthony says, it's just the awareness. And I think I remember you in the call, you said to me, what do you think intuitively that you have? I remember you asking me that actually. And I was like, well, I think it's like shingles and maybe some EBF. And you were like, I think you're right. It was, it's so empowering to know, just to be aware of what it could be causing it. And it just becomes, and as time goes on, it's still it's like the evidence is still building, no? Like if I do happen to have a bit of a migraine, and it's almost like that's because, I know what I did to trigger that now, and I'm like, that's a shingles thing. There's a deep awareness there now that's building up over time. Yeah, so I've been very lucky, I must say. Could you pinpoint your turning point in your own healing? Would it have been that day you spoke to Anthony? Would it have been one particular? It would be that, yeah?
Yeah, because all the lights went on. I think knowledge is empowering, and that's what Anthony gave me. He gave me knowledge, and that's what I in turn do for other people now, is to help them gain knowledge. But understanding that there really was something wrong was a changing moment. I mean, as far as I knew there was something wrong, but that there was an actual cause of it, something that wasn't my fault, right?
Yeah, and not in your imagination.
Well, there's a lot of blame that goes on here too. Oh, I must have, eaten a really terrible diet or something that I did to myself to cause this. But the truth of the matter is, it's the virus that is the cause. And I think to be able to let go all of that guilt and the weight of that is a life-changing moment, because you can shed that extra weight and look towards the light, look towards the light for healing.
And have hope. I think it's the hope that comes with it as well, that
absolutely.
That you can get better. Just in particular, and because this is kind of like my topic, and it has been yours, and I know you covered it briefly on your webinar the other day, but when dealing with headaches and migraines, which can be really, you can be in your bed for days, the lights out, they can, really affect your quality of life. What would you say are the main factors there in healing headaches and migraines?
Well, the first part, and we're specifically talking about migraines here, or headaches can be different. There's different things that cause pain in your head, but in particular for migraines, we'll kind of lean towards that way. It's, first of all, understanding what it is and what's causing it. Migraines are neurological, period. They are stemming from inflamed nerves, literally in your head, from that virus, but that's what it's from. So when you think of it that way, we can look to all the things that Anthony has taught us towards food and supplements and whatnot to help calm those nerves down. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. If someone is in a full-blown migraine, the type that, keep you down for a day or maybe even a couple days, like you said, it's really hard to get out of that outside of taking some heavy pain medication or something. We're not going to go there. We're talking about natural healing. It's really hard to kick that out once it's full-blown. So my suggestion is for anyone who has a problem, with recurring migraines, is to prevent it. And if you feel that first inkling of maybe one might be coming on, that's when you also take a lot of proactive steps to keep it from becoming full-blown. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I remembered actually being in ones that were so bad that even painkillers, they didn't even touch it.
Right.
It was
things.
Yeah.
Right. Things won't touch it sometimes when it's just in full blown. So you kind of have to ride it out that time, do what we can to ease the symptoms and to kind of take the edge off and just let it run its course until it's done what it's doing, your body can recover, and then you're going to take major steps for that happening again. This can be a process of learning too. And learning what your triggers are really important. Some women are really triggered during their cycle.
Yeah.
I know I was at one time. But it also can be other things like I mentioned, like dehydration is huge. I find that that's one of the biggest triggers for migraine. So thus, always keep something hydrating near you, especially things like coconut water, maybe lemon water, something to hydrate on a deeper level. So the minute you feel that twinge, and everyone listening to this, if you know those beginning twinges, or sometimes people get an aura type thing in their eye, people have different early on symptoms. When those appear, don't hesitate. Have something on hand right away. So things that I like to keep on hand right away, and honestly, I've not had a migraine in a really long time, years. Once in a while, I might feel a tinge of a headache, and it's probably because I didn't eat or something that day, or didn't keep hydrated enough. I'm guilty too. But what I do is I keep things near me. First and foremost, I keep something called, it's a magnesium L-threonate. And one of the common names for that, brand name would be Neuromag. It's a type of magnesium that works literally with the head like nothing else. It helps to calm down those nerves. That's what we want to do. We want to start calming the nerves so that they can settle down, and you start getting out of that weird flare that just affects your whole body. By the way, a migraine is not just in the head. You know this.
Exactly.
It affects your whole body.
Exactly.
Yeah. People get nauseated, all sorts of things. But I promise you, this is something that can help. I would take a couple of those probably right away. That and synergistically working along with curcumin or some kind of a turmeric supplement. I like pure curcumin. That's the ingredient or the constituent within turmeric. That's the helpful part for inflammation. Again, we're looking to reduce the inflammation. That's kind of what like an ibuprofen would do too, but obviously we don't really want to reach for that first anyway. Last resort stuff. But I would probably take some of that as well in combination with the L-threonate magnesium. And I find those two work really well together. And if it's a little bit of a stubborn headache that wants to come anyway, I will also take some skullcap. And that's one of my favorite neurological herbs to work with, and that's a good one to write down. So those three together are pretty powerful. And you may even be able to come out of a migraine by using those, depending on how strong it is.
Yeah, that's really handy to have actually. What about essential oils for headaches and migraines, Carolyn? Have you? I know you mentioned that earlier on.
I don't use my essential oils much for migraine pain because migraine pain is so touchy. Meaning sometimes just certain smells will set it off even worse. Because don't forget, your whole nervous system and your whole body is affected because your whole nervous system is affected. Yeah. Everything is in like heightened mode. For that time, you're in that migraine spell. So I really hesitantly introduce anything with an odor because it can, some people really react to odors too, whereas it'll make it worse, in other words. So I tend not to use essential oils for migraine. I like to stick more with the other things I mentioned, hydration and then those other few supplements.
Okay.
Here's the other thing that's really good for migraine I should throw in as well, is that warmth will also calm down neurological pain.
It's
So
true.
if I feel and when I used to get migraines, they would be in the trigeminal nerve area. I don't know if you've heard Anthony talk about that, but it's usually it's on the side of your face, goes up from your jaw all the way up back into behind your eye. So I would get that kind of pain kind of behind my eye and in my sinus and whatnot. And it would really help me for warmth. So something steamy to inhale, just plain steam, might be nice.
Mhm.
Or what I would do is I would just go and either take a really hot shower or just wash my face, and I would find immediately I would start getting relief by the warmth of the very warm or hot water. So that's another thing. Some people even like it to go back and forth between a cool rinse, let's say on their face, if it's that trigeminal nerve like I was getting, cool to warm, back to cool to warm. That back and forth motion helps some others as well.
Yeah, it can be soothing. Mhm.
And the warmth literally helps to calm down the nerves. Some people, including myself, would feel instant relief from a migraine.
Mhm.
But there are different kinds too.
Tip.
So
yeah. It's a whole world. But in the end, it's a virus there behind it. Do you know the other thing? Like, does celery juice help the migraines and themselves? Yeah, because I'm pretty sure that was a turning point for me as well.
Yes. Well, I would say getting celery juice in every day should be a must with anyone on a healing protocol. The celery first thing in the morning is a wonderful therapy, and I'm going to say it is a therapy with quotes because it's way beyond just juicing. It's amazing. That and cucumber juice is another good one for juicing.
So a really quick question. Celery juice, what should come first? Celery juice or the lemon water? Because I heard Anthony yesterday say I think it was the Facebook Live, he has his celery juice on an empty stomach, but I didn't know if that meant like before or after lemon water or...
Well, it depends. It depends on the client that came to me. So if I had a client coming to me who was the chronic migraine person, I would probably start them on celery, but then again, I would start them very slowly. Some people, because it is such a powerful therapy, if you have too much too quickly, some people get the opposite effect where it throws them, into a headache. So I would say go slowly with that portion. Maybe even start with some cucumber juice, something nice and soothing and hydrating, and work your way into celery. But the difference between lemon water first would be if someone came to me with a severely congested liver, I would have them start with a lemon water, big glass of that first thing in the morning, and then maybe a little bit later go into the celery juice and so on.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, that definitely makes sense. And just in general, Carolyn, how would you kind of like prioritize things around food and supplements and exercise? Does it really depend on the individual, or is there some kind of general, not rule, but a general kind of like guidance?
Well, the general rule is always food first. Always food first. Supplements are just that. They're supplementary. Now, there are a couple of supplements we don't want to be without because, as Anthony tells us, we're all deficient in B12 and zinc, as we cannot get that very easily anyway through food. So aside from those two, I would say focus on the food and start there. Add a few supplements that we need. It's always nice to get some vitamin C in there too, because we're all kind of deficient in that as well, or at least we need an awful lot of it. It's hard to get because our food just isn't containing as much as it used to. So I would say focusing on those three is a great place to start for anyone. And then, exercise is actually may or may not be beneficial depending on where someone is in their healing. Most people on a healing protocol, I recommend to do just very light exercise. We don't want to take too much energy from your body away from what it can put towards healing. So I generally tell people to start slow, like light walking. Stretching is really important to keep those muscles elongated. A lot of times having a viral issue, shingles is a good example. The muscles really tighten up and get very stiff and rigid, and people end up with frozen shoulder and all kinds of things from shingles. So it's important to very gently every day stretch out those muscles.
But you say that, yeah, that's great. Thanks. For the shingles, is lysine quite important as well?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Lysine is very beneficial for all the virus issues, whether it be Epstein-Barr or any other herpes virus of any kind.
I actually take the vitamin C on a daily basis, and I have done now for maybe, I don't know, maybe 2 years. I have the Ester C. I only get the Solgar one. If I go to the US, I get I think it's the pure encapsulations one, but I also take the lysine, but I really notice it if I don't take it. So, if I kind of like run out,
Sure.
like right now, I'm waiting for my Ester C to arrive. I have some smaller capsules. I'm trying to make them last, but I can really feel, and if for whatever reason I'm traveling and, I don't happen to be taking as much or taking the vitamin C, I really notice the difference.
Yes. Well, it's powerful. Those are if you could only afford 3 supplements, I would pick B12, zinc, and vitamin C. Vitamin C you can also take as a liposomal C, which is very wonderful and potent and helpful. Occasionally, I usually intertwine both ester C and liposomal C.
Yeah, I have one in the fridge actually, and it's so difficult to come by. I really trying to make it last. But I have actually been using both today, just because I don't have as much ester C as what I would normally take. I've been kind of like adding on the other one as well. But it's like gold in our house.
Yeah, oh, it is. It's like gold, yeah.
And I have to have, if my daughter gets sick, I really love to have it there on standby. Okay, so there's another thing I saw, Carolyn, that you have you have an online group, How to Have a Confident Heart, that it mentions, and I think it's a really interesting topic about having the confidence to take control in your own healing. Can you talk a little bit maybe about that group or the importance of the confidence, just to actually believe that you can do it?
Well, I will. And before you would ask me about the things, whether it be food, supplement, and exercise, what's more important, but I'm going to be honest to you, outside of food, I'll start there, I think the most important thing that we can do is to nurture the soul and spirit side of ourselves. So often, this is a very neglected side, and working with hundreds of clients over the past few years here, I see it over and over again. Whereas some people really struggle with healing because there are some lingering soul wounds. They don't have a purpose. Their self-esteem goes down. Chronic illness is defeating that way, and they feel very defeated. So they start losing the confidence and the empowerment they need to overcome it. And that's where Confident Heart comes in. I love my small group study. And I think they're doing really well with it. Now we're at this point here, we're in week 4. We're coming up to week 4. And, the same things that people say resonate over and over again. I can't do this. Things will never change. My life is never going to get any better. But the truth of the matter, it can and it will if we allow it to. So that's what this study is all about, and it is biblically based. We are working with God, and what God has to say about all this. Poor God gets left out so much. We focus so much on the physical portion with the food and the supplements, and all that's wonderful. It is, and it's needed, but we need to let God in as well so He can do His miraculous work within us to help us to heal. And I find when people finally get that portion, that is the last element that brings them up and over to the end of the rainbow, where they can really, really start feeling the healing that happens, that takes place. That's where that comes from.
I really get, I've tried it myself, that if you're there just by yourself and you're doing your celery juice, and it is an effort to make these changes, and if it's just you by yourself, it can be really hard to have the motivation to do it, or, you might read some things on Facebook, but I think I think you do need some kind of support system around you, and to feel the purpose in it, and even, like, why is this happening to me?
Yes.
That
yes, and those are soul wounds.
Difference.
When people start feeling defeated and why me, that becomes a huge soul wound. And those wounds, unless you deal with them in a light-filled way, they just fester. And sometimes they scar over, but they're still there. And what we want to do is we just want to take and melt away the scars. And, one interesting thing that we have learned in this study is that the shadows are created, the darkness in our lives is created because we ourselves have turned away from the light. What we need to learn to do and remember to do each and every day is that we need to turn around and face the light. Let the light penetrate you and shine in your face, and you can become this beautiful reflective image of it. So, hopefully that. Lovely. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
it's a beautiful
really
study,
lovely.
and I do plan on doing more of those. This one is closed at this point. Our group is full, but the response has been so lovely that, yes, I do plan on doing more of this kind of thing.
Yeah, I can imagine just having that support system. It must be like taking mega doses of vitamin C or something. It must give you such a boost,
right,
and bring you on in such a different way than maybe just the foods and the supplements and the exercise could.
Right.
Yeah, that's really lovely work you're doing there. And you're also doing some webinars, Carolyn, and I actually missed the second one. It for some reason I didn't see it, but are you planning to do more of them?
Like the question and answer? Is that what
yes.
you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, sure. I'll be doing more of those down the road. There were so many questions that came for the first call. I actually had to split it up for two, and then I even still didn't get to every single one. But if anyone or yourself wants to go and listen to part two, it is right on my website for anyone to hear. So
yes, it is. I saw that. That's very useful, and I also went on to check on your website the list of what should be organic and what, if it's not organic is okay. And that's really useful because there's so many different versions of that. I actually just took photos of the page and I have it on my phone now just so I can reference when I'm at the supermarket. It's really useful to have. Carolyn, go ahead, sorry.
I would say when in doubt, simply think about the skin. If you're not sure. If you're going to be eating the skin, then you might want to pick something that's organic. If you're not eating the skin, such as in the case of a melon or pineapple, then probably choosing non-organic, if you need to, is not a terrible choice. Organic is always wonderful. We know that, but we don't always have access to organic, or some people, it's not affordable. It's just very expensive to eat that way. So if you can't grow it yourself, then think about the skin.
Yeah, and the one thing that I do as much as possible, I try to buy organic, but when it comes to oranges, they're difficult to come by, and then they're not, I don't know, they don't have great flavour sometimes, and it's not the fact that they're organic or not. I think it's where they're coming from, how long they've been in the shop, and different things. So, that's probably one where I relax, and it's not necessarily organic. But if I can, it depends on the season as well. I noticed that Anthony said yesterday there's good celery now, and I know that I've got a period of maybe until September, I'm going to have good celery, like the big, strong white stalks. And then it goes really downhill, and I only get really thin green ones, that are really bitter to drink. So I think for me, it depends on the season. We get here the oranges, they're coming in winter really. So when you start coming into the good weather, you see that there's less available as well. So I think it just depends.
It does depend, and certainly just always pick from what's available. I mean, we all do that. Certainly it's going to be spring here soon, and I live in the Northeast in the States. So things are going to be more abundant soon, but it's been slim pickings sometimes here in the winter. I think we all just do our best. That's all we can do is our best. So there's no guilt there. You just do what you can.
Yeah, definitely. Carolyn, the time has just flown by. Thank you so much for joining us. Could you maybe end with some, like if there's somebody who's out there who's really struggling with their vitality, but it could be anything, you know, with any kind of chronic illness or anyone who's struggling, could we end on something, some message from you?
Sure. Well, I think that the idea is that there is always hope. I think you had said that earlier about hope. You can overcome this. If I can, you can. In the beginning, I wasn't really keen on changing my diet or anything, but, you know, you do what you have to do. And when you start eating and getting into a protocol like this, eating the fresh fruits and vegetables, to me it's addictive more than anything. And, you know, I can't imagine not having fresh fruit, but even if you could do something simple as just eat, you know, make yourself eat a couple of apples a day. Every step counts, and that's where I want to leave you all today, was that if you're new to this and you're thinking, oh, I can't possibly do what they do, yes, you can, but start small. Start with what you're able to do. If you can't give up your favorite foods, then just add in a few good things, like a couple of apples, and eventually, you know, you'll get to do more, but please know, even the small steps count, and it will lead to nothing but healing and glory for you to continue on with your life. I promise you'll get through it. I think that was the gist of what I was trying to say. You will get through it.
Yeah, it's really important. Thank you so much. I'm very, very grateful to have spoken to you today.
Oh, well, thank you for having me. It was really nice speaking again.
Thank you.
Okay, God bless.